I think it's safe to say it's all but confirmed that we're going to be getting DLC for Marvel Spider-Man 2, and I'm going to be talking about exactly why in this video. And we're going to jump straight into it because, first of all, there's been this secret location that's been found by a gamer that's cool over on TikTok, and it's this abandoned sort of location. But here's the kicker: it's the only place you can actually go in, right? You can actually kind of walk in. It's granted you can walk in on the other side, but when you look at the screen, what I'm showing you right now, there's a bunch of weapons and ninja tools and shields and all of these symbols everywhere, and the room is ominously glowing. And here's the thing, I think, and everybody else that's already seen this thinks that this is the Hand. And if you don't know what the Hand is, it's an ancient and powerful ninja clan that's closely related to Daredevil, right? And if you still don't believe that Daredevil won't be showing up in a DLC, Brian Intihar had this to say during an interview with IGN.
One of our gameplay editors noticed Nelson and Murdoch's sign is gone. Is that intentional, or is that just oops?
That's a good question. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah. Good find, though.
And this is huge because, first of all, I mean, they've already been kind of testing the waters with having takedowns and interactions with not just any Spider-Man related characters in the game. We've had this be the case with Agent Venom, which, if you don't know, was actually Harry, right? We could do some interactions with him during the open world. He'd show up during that story segment. Then when we had the side story that had to do with this crazy flame cult, right? We were, doing takedowns with Yuri, aka Wraith, and then Wraith can also show up in the open world now, and we can interact and do some takedowns and things. So who's not to say that Daredevil might not show up in a future DLC? And here's the thing, the storyline with the cult is not over, actually, because the leader of that cult was Cletus Cassidy, and if you don't know who that is Carnage in the comics and the movies. And here's the thing about that. Towards the end of the DLC, Carnage, aka Cletus, he's holding that vial that has a symbiote in it. That was his end goal. He was bring about the Crimson Hour, which seems to me, since that symbiote obviously is a crimson color, I feel like he wants to start another invasion all over again, right? And that's possibly where the DLC is going to be leading up to, and that's what I want to see. And the reason for that is, if we're going into a third game or a spin-off game with Venom, right, we should leave the symbiote stuff to the DLC and to Venom, because if we're going to Marvel Spider-Man 3, we're more than likely going to be dealing with Green Goblin, Doc Ock, stuff like that, a different bunch of villains. And we want to leave the symbiote saga behind because that's now done with and is over, and it would allow us to have a fresh slate. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with the anti-venom suit for Peter. Maybe he's going to try to get it to not bond with him so he can give it to Harry so Harry's healed, and then we could have Harry be like Agent Anti-Venom, which is a cool thing, right? I mean, if you would want to see that, and that would be awesome. And I feel like if they do go down the route of having the Carnage DLC, we might actually end up having Daredevil show up for that, because why not? Daredevil's a street level hero, and so is Spider-Man, and we're out here trying to protect, the streets, so why the hell not? And there's been more than enough nods around the city for different superheroes, right? Like we've had nods to Doctor Strange and Wong. We've still got this Sanctum Sanctorum. We've even had a mission with Black Cat where she steals an artifact, and we go through a bunch of different portals, and then at the end of it, Wong takes the artifact back and is like, hey, thanks, man. And then we've also got Fantastic Four's Baxter building, which I'm pretty sure they took over Fisk Tower with that. We've still got the Avengers Tower. Genki mentions the Rand Corporation, which obviously teases the existence of Iron Fist, right? We've got obviously the law firm there, Nelson and Murdoch, but they actually kind of seem to vacated that premise to set up shop elsewhere, maybe, or maybe in a different location of the city. I don't know. But with this whole Hand thing going on, and Brian Intihar saying to stay tuned, I have no doubts that we're going to be getting an absolute DLC, right? Like, it'd be amazing if we got like a Daredevil sort of like team up DLC or a Heroes for Hire sort of thing, because I feel like they're really trying to build out this universe, and it's an incredibly successful thing, because think of it from like a point of view of Sony and Insomniac, right? Like, they've built up Marvel Spider-Man is their Iron Man movie that's kicked off this whole universe. And even Brian Intihar said the first, Spider-Man game was like Iron Man, the second game was like Civil War, and then he said, where do we go from here? So Marvel Spider-Man 3 seems to be the final chapter in Infinity War / Endgame kind of scenario, and then we can kind of maybe build off to other heroes from that, and maybe even have like a Silk game or another Miles game or whatever have you, a Daredevil game. Like, there could be so much craziness here with single player games, because if anything, Insomniac Games has proven time and time again that with superhero games now, the multiplayer formula isn't the way to go. For sure it isn't. Like, Avengers even proved that themselves when that big game that was so hyped died, because it just had all of these microtransactions and it was just online, and it wasn't fun at all, right? So single player games are the way to go. I wouldn't mind seeing a whole game universe build out from here, and maybe even getting different studios to take care of different games that are within the same sort of universe, right? That would be amazing. Now, like, Carnage DLC is seriously happening for sure, but we don't know how the Hand is going to play in this. Like, how is the Hand going to play into it? Will it be one DLC? Will it be two DLC? Or will it be three DLCs that with the third DLC it sets up a Venom game and a Marvel Spider-Man 3? Because they used to do with the other game, right, with Marvel Spider-Man, they did 3 DLCs. You got new suits, little new self-contained, well, not self-contained stories, they all kind of continued on from each other, and then they kind of led into Miles Morales, which at the end of the third DLC, it kind of ended with Peter and Miles both just swinging off, and then we got Miles Morales. So they could potentially set up with the third DLC, the Venom game / Marvel Spider-Man 3. So there's a lot to look forward to, a lot to see. There's so much excitement, and I'm so glad that this is only the beginning for this universe. It's such a wonderful fresh take on all of these characters, and Venom, on Spider-Man, on all the villains. I love Sandman, and not to mention that Kraven took out a bunch of villains. Like, he straight up killed so many of them, and this was actually brought up in an interview as well, the very same interview, and Brian Intihar said that they're not running out of villains at all. He's not worried about that, so there's nothing to worry about for future potential for the games. We're looking good. It's going to be fine. I can't wait to see what they cook up next. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Watch this other video where I talk about, why is the symbiote colors different at the end of the game as well, because that's an error and stuff like that. And yeah, again, subscribe to the channel, drop a like. Thank you so much for all your support. Have a wonderful day. Peace.